This presentation is about email headers. We're going to take a look at how you would analyze email headers in order to track down information that might be helpful in a forensic investigation. So the agenda is, we'll first start talking about email headers, and it'll just be a basic introduction. We'll take a look at some email headers. And I've got some in these slides, and I also have a couple Gmail and Yahoo ready to show you too. We're going to take a look and list the common fields available in email headers. This will be just a brief overview. We've already talked about how mail works on the internet, but we'll sort of review that. And then we'll talk about how we use email headers for our investigations. And this will be some expert insight. So what is an email header? Well, we've already talked a bit about the header, but that was actually a fairly incomplete discussion. Essentially, we talked about the header as being a from and a to and a date and a subject. And those are the basics, but there's a lot more that we can actually add to a header and that will be added to a header as it traverses from server to server. So here is an email header. And it's got a lot more information, obviously, than what we had originally discussed. That's because the MTAs, as it goes through each MTA, they actually augment the header with their own information. So you know which MTAs have handled this email along the way. So delivered to, that's the destination, the recipient. Received by, and you notice that there is an SMTP ID, and this actually will correspond to an entry in the log file. So you can actually relate this to the log file pretty easily. And here again, there's another server at a different IP address with its own ID. Okay, so two MTAs, each with their own server ID. Okay, return path bounce at funio.com. Okay, received. Here we have another one with another ID. So each one of these MTAs has its own log file with its own ID, and this is how you're able to track back. You know, it sounds like a really hard thing to do, to trace these things back, but it can be done. It takes some effort because you have to contact people. You either have to get a warrant or you have to get their cooperation. Okay, so then authentication results, more information. Now is the information that we're familiar with. The to, the subject, and the originating script and the bounce flag and the iWeb client ID. Those are not part of what the email client, the UA, adds. Those are what gets added along the way. Okay, from CC, okay, carbon copy, obviously. Content type is added by the UA at the send time. So this is going to be text HTML, and tells you what the character set is. Okay, so you know you're going to have HTML encoding. It's not really encoding, it's just HTML tags within the email body. Content transfer encoding 7-bit. Message ID, here again, you know, for each step along the way, there's a message ID. And this is how you're going to trace things back. So we've kind of mentioned web-based email just a bit. But web-based email allows users to manage email via a web browser and send or receive email from anywhere. Email is not downloaded to a computer, but instead is left on the mail server until the user deletes it. Okay, and since I operate from so many different places, I end up using webmail a lot. Now, in a way, this is sort of may go by the wayside. Well, Microsoft would love it too. Microsoft's Outlook 365 can be used from anywhere. It has its own web type interface. So, and you can use it from anywhere. So in a way, you get the same advantages using the current version of Outlook. Examples of web-based email client applications are Gmail and Yahoo Mail. So I'm going to go ahead and show you some selected headers from my own email. So here's Gmail, pretty typical email about a meeting I was going to have last July. Now with Gmail, to see the entire message, everything, you just go to Show Original. And the nice thing here is Gmail actually does its best to kind of organize this for you. This top part here is not necessarily, I mean, that's not part of the email. That's just Gmail's way of making it nice for you. Okay, but here's the actual header that we talked about already. Okay, and you can see all the fields, and all these fields obviously have meaning. And these are going to help you. Notice that for each hop along the way, there's an ID that corresponds to a server log. There's also a time. So even if someone spoofs this, you can actually go back to the server logs and try to trace it back that way. Okay. So far, those have to do with all the hops. Here are the authentication results. Okay. And here is a DKIM signature. Okay. Because whoever sent this to me wanted it to be encrypted in a certain way. Okay, here's the signature. Okay. Now you've got the MIME information here. MIME version. More information about where this email has been and where this email has been. The bounces along the way. Okay, finally we get to what we know as the header. The information we're thinking about that's in the header is the subject, from, to, CC, content type. So this is a multi-part because it has an attachment. Okay, so here's the actual plain text. Notice in that there is no HTML. This is also plain text. So forth. Down here though, we have this is actually HTML formatted. Okay, and these are just previous emails that are part of this email conversation. Okay, so that's an email message that was HTML formatted. Notice that all of these parts are separated by numbers. Okay, so if it's multi-part, you're going to have separators. Now let's take a look at Yahoo. Yahoo is a little bit different how you see the header. You go to View Raw Message, and Yahoo doesn't actually format this conveniently like Gmail does. It just gives you the raw header. Okay, so here we have this. Okay, so it's typical information. However, there's not nearly as much as far as how many bounces this took. The other one, actually, the Gmail one had a lot of bounces because it was between 3 different people in response to a couple of previous emails. So it had a lot more information. This is a real simple one. I just sent this to myself and went ahead and it went basically directly to me. And here's an HTML formatted content message. What I did was I attached a PDF so that you can see what that would look like. So here's the PDF. Okay, it's a research I'm doing on entropy right now. And notice that it's UU encoded. You don't see any binary data. This is all UU encoded. And I just want to show you the very end of this UU encoding. It's always going to end with 2 equal signs. Okay, and that's going to indicate the end of the UU encoded document. Okay. So that's Gmail and Yahoo Mail that we just took a look at. But there are others: Hotmail, Google Apps Admin, Live Exchange, Office 365, and IMAP. And I'm going to suspect that Office 365 will in time kind of take over, similar to the way Outlook Express and Outlook did earlier. IMAP is just an alternate to POP3. So I've already shown you how to find your Gmail header information. And this is just an example of, this is just another example where it's showing you the public and private IP addresses. And this is important because this is going to help you find out who it is and get a definitive ID on that person. So desktop-based email services are a bit different. Not that the protocols are different, but they're just a little bit different in how you examine them. Desktop-based email clients are mailing applications that enable the users to easily manage their email accounts and perform operations such as sending and receiving emails, managing tasks and calendar items, and many more. So Outlook has been a mainstay at doing this, and it just lets you organize everything really, really well. In fact, I'm just as guilty as anybody else. I use Outlook like as a mini database. Instead of keeping a database, say, of phone numbers and contact, I just have a contact folder, and I just copy everything in there. Then when I need to find someone's contact information, I go ahead and just search through there. So my actual email, so the size of my email database is fairly large. Of course, I pay extra to make sure I never run out of space, but I think the ISPs probably frown on it. Anyway, examples of desktop-based email client applications are Microsoft Outlook. That's obviously the Mac Daddy. Outlook Express, or really Outlook Express is pretty much gone by the wayside now. Thunderbird, the Bat, Pocomail, Lotus Notes. Lotus Notes is actually, you'd be surprised, even though it's really old, it's still around. Mailbird, Postbox. So Outlook, we're not going to go through this, but you take and you can easily find through Outlook the same kind of header information we've already taken a look at. Okay, so how do you investigate an email header? What is the information that you need? Well, the first thing you need is the header. The header is what's going to give you more information than anything else. Okay, it's got all the information, all the bounces along the way, all the hops, along with the IP addresses, the times and dates, so you really can get a good idea. You know how sometimes emails don't get there exactly, they're not instantaneous, so you can actually get an idea of how long it took and how long the different hops took. So delivery to filed of email header shows the address of automailer. Return path of email header is used for bounces. The mail server will send a message to the specified email address if the message cannot be delivered. Received SPF, Sender Policy Framework, is used to describe what mail server is allowed to send messages for a domain. From displays the name of the server, but this information can easily be forged and hence is least reliable. To displays the name of the receiver, subject represents the subject of the email message, and the date shows the date and time when the email message was composed. And essentially these 4 items are what we were calling the header in that last presentation. Message ID, we've talked about this. Now remember that there were multiple message IDs. each hop along the way had its own message ID that corresponds to an entry in its log. So every email should have a message ID field that provides a unique message identifier that refers to a particular version of a particular message. The MIME version, MIME stands for Multi-Purpose Internet Mail Extension. So the MIME version is an internet standard that extends the format of an email message. Content type shows the format of the message. Normally it's going to be HTML, plain text, rarely XML. XMailer, the email client used to send the message. And this may or may not be important to you, but it's still part of the evidence you're going to be collecting. Content language, specify the language used for content of page. X antivirus, this states that what the sender's antivirus program is, such as Norton, AVG, etc. And that might be important because if there is an antivirus or if there's not an antivirus, might play into how the evidence looks. X antivirus status shows if the email was free or not free from any viruses. So the received information is going to have an IP address and an ID, and you're going to have the email address with its IP, and you're going to have the internal, and you're going to have the local address. The 192.168.2.31 is the local address. Received is the most essential field of the email header. It creates a list of all the mail server. It creates a list of all the mail server through which the message traveled in order to reach the receiver. The best way to read the receive fields are from bottom to top. The bottom receive shows the IP address of the sender's mail server. The top receive shows the IP address of the receiver mail server. The middle receives shows the IP address of the mail server through which email passes from sender to receiver. And there could be more than 1, 2, or 3 of these even. So there's a utility called Mail Examiner, and this shows you what Mail Examiner might look like as far as using it. Okay, and it's showing you all the different fields in the header. This is the header view.